Okay, brothers and sisters, believe me, the wait will be worth it. You know, they gave me a cheat sheet on introducing Secretary Walsh, but, well, maybe I'll start it, but I don't think I'll get through the whole thing because I think I can wing this one and be a lot more direct than what this thing says. So, you know, we've have a lot of great pro-worker officials joining us for this conference, but I have to say, I have some special appreciation for our next speaker. The fact is, as I told you yesterday, that Marty Walsh has got to be, not has got to be the most pro-labor, he is, without any doubt, the most pro-labor Secretary of Labor that we've ever had. And I've dealt with a bunch of them. And this guy is the best. He's a guy who came straight out of the labor movement and was actually the first union member to become Secretary of Labor in 45 years. And while he's been in office, brothers and sisters, he's lived up to everything that we could have asked him. Now I think I'll throw this thing away. Let me tell you, I've called Secretary Walsh got to be dozens of times since he's been in office. And every time I've asked him to do anything or to be someplace or whatever, I don't think the man has ever heard or ever said the word no. I don't think so, because he has contacted CEOs. He showed up on picket lines. He's gone to bargaining tables. He settles strikes. No matter what I ask him for, he always says the same thing. Absolutely, when do you need it? So, brothers and sisters, it gives me great, great, great pleasure to introduce to you the Secretary of Labor of the United States of America, Marty Walsh.
Oh, God. Thank you very much. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Thank you so much. As I was walking up, I said to myself, holy shit, how do I follow that? Let me just, first of all, just thank you, President Shelton, for your friendship, for everything that you do. I knew the CWA from Boston when I was the mayor in Boston, and I knew when I was a state representative, and I'll get into it more. Thank you, Chris. You're the best. I appreciate it. To the Secretary Treasurer, Sarah, thank you. The members of the Executive Board, local union officials, CWA members from across the country, thank you. To every single person, union member here in this room, I want to thank you for the work you do. I'm going to tell you a funny story. Chris just threw his paper out. I have a teleprompter in front of me. I have a speech in the teleprompter. And I so don't want to go by this teleprompter at this moment. So I'm going to go do a little bit of both. So teleprompter operator, don't worry about me. If I go off script a little bit, you don't have to worry about me at all. I'll just get back on track. I see you down the back there, so don't worry about me. How about we start with thanking all the Hyatt Regency workers for what they have done and keeping us here today. For the last 2.5 years, certainly American workers have showed what it takes to move our country forward and to overcome any obstacle. And members of your great union have been leading the way. Telecom and technology workers keeping us connected throughout the pandemic. Manufacturing and industrial workers keeping our homes and our businesses running throughout the pandemic. Flight attendants have kept our airline industry going under the most challenging conditions. Journalists, media workers, broadcast workers, keeping us informed and keeping us the most up-to-date information in the last 2 years. And gaming workers, the gaming workers organizing with your unions, bringing people joy and breaks when people need it. Across every single industry and every single community, working people are certainly the heart and soul of our nation. And when the workers stand united, nothing can stop us. That's what built our country. That's what got us through very difficult times. And that's why right now, at this moment in time, 2022, the labor movement is more critical to our future than ever. And it's important for me to be here today because we have a story to tell. And President Biden has a story to tell. If you turn on the news or you flip on the newspaper, all you hear is about inflation, which is real. And it's impacting all of you in this room, and it's impacting your members, and it's impacting America. But we also have another story to tell. When President Biden took office in 2021, the American economy was dying. People weren't working. Since President Biden has taken office, 8.7 million Americans have gone back to work. That's unprecedented job growth in the United States of America. And I just want to put a little asterisk there for a minute, because as you hear about the Great Resignation and you hear about people not filling jobs, you know where you don't hear that story? You don't hear that story when a company has a collective bargaining agreement, because people are going to work. People aren't quitting. Why aren't they quitting? Because they're represented by you. They're represented by people. They have a good collective bargaining agreement. They have benefits. They have a pension. They have the things that people care about. That story hasn't been written yet. I know there might be some press in the room, so think about that are represented by this union. Think about that story. The president is also working to make sure putting the power back in the hands of working people. What does that mean? We see it in the labor dynamics. We see it in the wave of organizing that's going all across this country. You hear it and see it from workers every day. Workers want better wages. Workers want safe working conditions. Workers want new skills and career options. They want to be able to move up. Workers want access to good jobs and equal pay. No matter what their race or their gender is, we need to make sure that this recovery is equitable. We talk about it. Elected officials and politicians have been saying this forever. We need an equitable recovery. We need to make sure the communities of color are taken care of. We need to make sure the black community has been historically left behind is not left behind anymore. Well, you know something? Let's stop talking about it. Let's make it happen. That's what we need to do. People are looking for opportunities to thrive and care for their family and live the American dream. That's what families want. Those are the opportunities that we are working to build together. Brothers and sisters, those are opportunities that a union provides. I've lived it my whole life. This is where I'm going to go off script. My father came to this country in 1956. He came from Ireland. My mother came in 1959. When my father came to Boston, when he came to America, he went to Boston. And when he came to Boston, he had a chance. I don't know how it happened, but he went down and signed up and joined Laborers Local 223 in Boston. That local union changed the trajectory of my father's life. When they met my mother, they got married. My mother's life. They allowed them an opportunity to buy a home. They had 2 kids, myself and my brother. They had an opportunity to put food on our table. We weren't rich, but we weren't poor, because we had a union that supported us. In 1974, I came down with cancer. I had cancer as a kid, Burkitt's lymphoma. And when I got the cancer, there wasn't a lot of money back then. And there was a lot of bills back then. Maybe not as high as today, but there was a lot of bills. And not only did we have health care to be able to take care of me and my family, my mother, my father, and my brother, but the union rallied around us. They had a benefit dance for us, and I don't talk about this publicly. Because at that time, you supported each other in the brotherhood and sisterhood of the union. And that union came together, and I have a flyer from it, and they came together, they put together a dance to help my family with the cost of the health care that we had, the burden we had. That only happens in organized labor. You've seen it where members might have lost their life on a job site, and you pass the hat. That only happens with organized labor. You see it when members lose a spouse, that members show up at people's houses. That only happens with organized labor. You saw it during the pandemic when we need to set up food lines and food pantries to take care of some people, our members and other people. That only happens with organizations like yours. That local union that I'm part of, and I'm a proud member of that local union, gave me everything I have in my life. From being a working for the laborers union as a construction worker, working for the laborers union in the office. When I needed to go to detox, they had better health care for me, so I was able to go to detox for that. I was able to come out of detox a year and a half later. I was able to run for state representative, and my union backed me up then, and the building trades backed me up, and the labor movement backed me up. And I spent 16 years in the House of Representatives, and I worked on labor issues. Chris talks about not saying no. I don't know how to say no to organized labor and to people, because that's not what I was told to do. What I was told to do is try and help people. And then 16 years later, I ran for mayor of Boston. I got elected mayor of Boston. I ran the building trades in between. And then I was asked in January of 2021, I got a phone call. I got a phone call from Vice President-elect Joe Biden. And he asked me if I would be his Secretary of Labor. And for me personally, it was bittersweet, because I love being the mayor, and I love doing what I did, and I love being in my city. But I also knew President Biden. I knew that I would be part of the most pro-worker administration in American history. I knew that the president would be as close to a union member as you can get. The president talks about the White House as Labor's house. This is what he says. This is Labor's house. That's what the President Biden says. Not when the cameras are on, but when the cameras are off. When I am with the president privately, he talks about you as if he's one of you. This isn't stuff that people say. As the president says, it's not hyperbole. It's the truth. You know, and when he gave me this job and I looked at what we do at the Labor Department, we're looking and we've revitalized, rebuilt, and elevated our mission at the Labor Department. We're empowering workers, all workers, morning, noon, and night. That means workers that are collected by collective bargaining. But to be honest with you, everybody, I also support workers that aren't covered by collective bargaining, because I'm the labor secretary. You got to take care of workers in America. And what the president has done, when he looks at workers and he thinks about workers, he knows that you're covered by collective bargaining, and I'll get into that in a little bit about what he does. But he also worked to put in place a $15 an hour minimum wage for federally contracted workers. We had people working for federal contracts making $6 and $7 an hour, and we wanted to make sure we changed that. That gave 327,000 low-income workers a raise who are disproportionately women and workers of color. We announced that last year in Birmingham, Alabama, at Kelly Ingram Park, a hallowed ground of the civil rights movement. And I can tell you, when I was there, CWA was well represented in that fight. There was your colleagues, some of you in this room probably standing behind me. I also want to thank you for your advocacy, because that made a difference. Because I know that your members didn't benefit from that, but you still go out and fight for people to earn $15 an hour. That's what we do. The CWA is working to fight. You guys are fighting to lift all workers up. And this administration, President Biden, Vice President Harris, myself, and the whole administration stands with you in that fight. At the Labor Department, we launched something called the Good Jobs Initiatives. And it's focused to make sure that all the jobs that we are creating in this economy, every job that we're creating, has good wages and benefits, has equity and access, and people have the opportunity for a free and fair choice to join a union if they choose. That's what we need to do. I'll give you one example. The bipartisan infrastructure law. $50 billion for the Commerce Department to achieve universal broadband access in the United States of America. So we work with the Commerce Department to require the grant applications, and we're going to still work with them, to include strong labor protections and hiring standards. One of the reasons why I did it, because as soon as this bill passed, it was going through, Chris called me up, and he was up here saying nice things about me. He was kind of yelling the day he called me. He goes, "Marty, the bill doesn't have labor protections in it." I said, "Don't worry, we'll take care of it." But we're working across the different departments and the different agencies. We're working with transportation, energy, and commerce to make sure that all those different areas understand this. And we had such an intense focus on good union jobs with equity every step. That's the key of this, making sure, as I said to you earlier about the pandemic, when people are quitting work and leaving work and going to work and not coming back to work and switching jobs, that's not happening in your industries because you're covered by a collective bargaining agreement. We're also working with the Justice Department to address anti-competitive behavior that harms workers, like wage theft and misclassification of workers. We have a brand new memorandum of understanding with Department of Justice Antitrust Division to share information and strengthen enforcement. Your union, the CWA, has been pushing for more security in this area, and it's making a difference. This is the work that we're doing collectively every single day. And let me just say one other thing. Don't let anyone tell you, and your members need to know this, it matters who gets elected. It matters who your representatives are. And it matters more now than any other moment in the history of our country. We need everyone to be active and engaged in our democracy. And we have to make that clear to every member of your union and every person in the labor movement and beyond. This administration, you know this, believes that a strong labor movement means a better life for all Americans. That's why this administration, President Biden, continues to push the PRO Act. That's before Congress. Our labor laws need to be strengthened. There's no question about that. We know that. But the one thing we know that we're also having an uphill fight there, that we're not waiting for the PRO Act to take action. The president put together, no president ever did this. He put together a White House task force on organizing and empowerment. He asked Vice President Harris to be the chair of it, and I serve as the vice chair. We are moving in dozens of different ways under existing authority to support organizing in the private and public sector. We're investing in workers' rights, union organizing around the world to end the race to the bottom that undercuts workers here at home. So we're working in other countries. And we're letting American workers know they have the right, American workers have the right to organize. Now, they don't have to organize, but they should have the right to organize no matter what industry they work in or what part of the country they live in or who their governor is or who their mayor is or who their city senator is or who their congressman is. They need to make sure they have that right. And you in this room need to do that. I just want to give you a little statistic. 3/4, and this is the first time since I'm 55 years old, so I've been in the labor movement probably since I've been like a year and a half. You know, I grew up, I had a union booklet put in one hand and a Democratic, Party's tattoo to my you-know-what. I had no choice. That was my path in life, and this still is my path in life. I'm proud of that path in life. But for the first time in a long time, 3/4 of young workers in America said they want to join a union. That's an incredible number. I've never seen that. But we can clap on that. But this is the number that you have to think about when you're out there talking. Only 10%, now 3/4 of the country, young people, 3/4, 3 out of every 4 young people in America want to be part of a union. Well, they say they want to be part of a union. But only 10% of them know how to form or join a union. So there's a problem there. There's a gap. When I was a kid growing up, we knew how to join a union. We knew where we had to go. We knew all that stuff. Today, we don't know that. We need to do that. At the Department of Labor, we're building the first ever online work organizing resource center. It's a one-stop shop, how to organize in your workplace and join a union. We're asking union members to bring that to life. And we're asking you right now, I think there's cards out there, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. DOL.gov/organizing stories. If you could just get on there, tell us why and how you organized the union. I don't care if it was 35 years ago. Talk about it because it's relevant today. Or share how the union made a difference in your life. We're going to publish many of these stories on workers' organizing resources. We want to inspire workers who are looking for a union to take advantage of that, to show them a pathway and opportunity. And that's quite honestly what the president did last month when he invited a bunch of organizers to Washington, to the White House, including Alex Spidell. Is Alex here? Where's Alex? I don't know if Alex is here, but Alex Spidell. He was a leading one of the leaders in forming United Paizo, a union with the CWA last year. It was great to see Alex's face. The president walked in, and all the workers were there from all the different companies. And the president walked in, and he talked to them about it. Then he brought everyone into the Oval Office to take a picture, and they nearly, they were like, oh my God, we had, companies like Paizo, we had companies like the kids from Starbucks, from Amazon, from some of the other companies that were there to be able to be there, to understand and celebrate their organizing and what the president wanted to make sure he did. That's what the president did, and Alex was part of that, and it was great to see that. It was great to see, that excitement around organizing and making sure that we continue to organize. So that was pretty good. I also want to just say, the administration is going to continue to lift people up. We need to make sure that your union gets it. I know that the CWA gets it. And we need to make sure we continue to lift up unions, and we need to continue to lift up people, and we need to continue to lift up how do we do collective bargaining. You know, this union here that I'm looking at today, you're bold and you're moving forward. You supported alphabet workers at Google. You've organized digital newsrooms, and tech workers at the New York Times. New York Times workers, thank you that they're here today. I'm almost done. Chris gave me a nice shout out. He's an amazing leader. And I want to congratulate Chris in the CWA for his historic announcement with Microsoft this week. I know you know how important it is, but I want people to understand how important it really is. It's an important milestone in our economy. Working people have used their power, and a majority of employees have pledged to take the high road and respect a free choice to join a union. That doesn't happen every day. That doesn't happen every day. Chris and your membership and your board, all of you, I want to thank them for what they have done. This is the kind of vision and conversation that we need to continue. So my message to the labor movement across the country is recognize the opportunity that this moment presents. We have talked a long time, too long, about decline of workers' rights and union membership in our country. Now is the first time in decades that we have the wind at our back. You have the highest level of worker interest in unions in our lifetime. You have the most pro-labor administration in the history of our country. You have a Secretary of Labor who has a proud union book in his pocket. His dues are paid. We have a chance collectively to write the next chapter of the labor movement and America's journey to economic justice. So let's make the most of this opportunity. Let's help workers be part of our labor family that made all of our lives possible. Build worker power, grow the labor movement, expand the American dream. Get out there and keep organizing, organizing, organizing. And whatever happens, our nation will be stronger, more just, and more united than ever. Brothers and sisters, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. God bless you. God bless the labor movement. God bless the CWA. And God bless America.
So, brothers and sisters, I made a pretty long speech yesterday answering the question, why am I in Joe Biden's pocket? Well, I'll tell you what, there's one of the main reasons. I think there's only one thing that we disagree on, and that's baseball. But give him another round of applause, because if anybody deserves it, he does.